Hello and welcome to Business Class. My name is Shantanu Prakash and today we'll be speaking with Zorawar Kalra. Zorawar is the managing director and founder of Massive Restaurants. As the name suggests, Massive Restaurant is massive. They have 35 restaurants in India and other parts of the world, and they serve over 25,000 customers every day. Zorawar, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's great to have you.
Great to be here.
And when I look at you, you are young and you're extremely successful. You have received, the list of awards that you've received will take probably a number of pages to fill that. How does it feel to be so successful in a highly competitive industry at such a young age?
Thanks for the great intro. I don't think success can be measured in just number of awards or in number of customers you serve. I think it goes a little bit beyond that. To me, success is the day that Indian food is considered as one of the top 2 or 3 dining choices in the world. The same way today you have Japanese, Italian or Chinese. That would be success for me. That you go to any major city in the world and of your top 3 dining destinations, one of them is an Indian cuisine restaurant. Hopefully mine. But if the day we achieve that, the day our fabulous cuisine with the ultimate culinary sophistication, philosophy, depth and variety, the day that cuisine is recognized on a global platform and recognized for what it is I think that day I'll find myself successful if I have contributed towards that.
That's a very big ambition to have, and congratulations for really helping Indian food find its right position, I would say.
Thank you. It's work in progress.
In the well-known cuisines of the world. So Zorawar, you come from a family that has a very rich legacy in the industry. Your father, Jiggs Kalra, is one of the most well-known personalities as a consultant, and so you inherited a huge legacy, right? And I believe that at a very young age you went to the US to do your MBA. But when you were there out in the US, did you always have this dream that you're going to come back and open such a huge chain of restaurant and become sort of like a food and beverage mogul tycoon, so to say?
I don't know about the tycoon bit, but definitely the very purpose of going to the US to do the MBA was to arm myself with the business knowledge to be able to come back and then use that to grow a company of scale. One of the key things that the MBA taught me was don't think boutique, think large scale. And I think that was already part of my psyche. So it further harbored the development of that thought process in my head. So from that perspective, the MBA was very useful. But the idea was to always come back and do this with Indian food, take my dad's name forward, his work. He got sick at the wrong time. He got sick when India was booming. Maybe I would not have started Massive Restaurants, and maybe I would have inherited something if he had not gotten sick in 2000. So I think it's a lot of destinies at play here. But the love towards the craft of restauranting developed at a very young age. I would say maybe even the pre-teen years, because I was infatuated with my father, as all sons usually are. I loved what he did. He had a great lifestyle. He used to travel the world, live in the best hotels, come up with the best restaurants, get a lot of accolades, be famous. He was on TV. All of those things together created this sense of, grander than life feelings in my head towards the business. And that's how at a very young age I decided this is what I want to do. And then all the other actions or all the other steps that I took were to be able to achieve this goal.
So 2 quick questions. Firstly, if that was the lifestyle that you aspired to, and certainly very romantic the way you describe it, you never trained to become a chef, for example. So was that a conscious decision?
Very conscious decision. I never had the inclination to become a chef. It's like a musician. There's an orchestra. There's a piano player, there's a cello player, there's a flute player, there's a harp player, and then there's the conductor. The conductor conducts the orchestra. I call myself more akin to a conductor, where I control the musicians and I create a symphony. So I never was interested in just one aspect of restauranting. Cooking, in my opinion, is the ultimate art. It's the ultimate art. It is soul satisfying. Few other arts can do what cooking can do in terms of effect on the human body and the soul. But for me, there was just not the only thing that I wanted to do. And I didn't want to just get stuck in the kitchen, because if you just strive for perfection in the kitchen, that's going to take a whole life. It's going to take a whole lifetime. And you'll still never achieve perfection. You cannot, there's no such thing as perfect. It's simply a goal that you chase every day, but you know, or you should know, that you'll never achieve it. So from that perspective, I wanted to be the control of the orchestra. I wanted to do restaurants. I wanted to have, I wanted to innovate with food. And I think that's what really drove me towards it, not just the one aspect of cooking.
So Farzi is, and many other restaurants that you've opened, they are fundamentally known for being innovative, being disruptive, doing a different spin on, a very ancient cuisine like Indian cuisine. So do you actually do all that yourself? Are you part of the team? What exactly do you do?
I question that myself sometimes. I don't know what I do. I think I'm lucky to have a great team. I like to call myself as an ideas guy. I come up with good ideas, or at least I think they're good. I don't know, the world will decide whether they're good or not. But that's the fun part of it for me. I enjoy that aspect of the business the most. The fact that, you're coming up with a new concept, and then when you see people rush towards it, say good things about it, that's the ultimate high. What I enjoy the most of the whole process is the first few months of a new concept being rolled out. When Farzi started, I remember Masala Library was already open, and Masala Library was getting great accolades. But I always thought, why do kids, youth, not just kids, youth, why do the 25-year-olds not want to go to an Indian restaurant? Why do they only want to go to an Indian restaurant when it's Dada Dadi's anniversary or parents' birthdays? They don't go for date night. They don't go for hanging out with their friends. They go for other things. They go for bars, or they go for pizzas and burgers and that kind of stuff. I wanted to change that perception about Indian food. I wanted to make Indian food hip and cool and millennial. That was the founding principle of Farzi Cafe. It stands today. It's helped create a new phenomenon in the Indian food industry, which is a modern Indian food, where playful or cute Indian food has now become the norm. It's more restaurants are opening in this genre than any other genre in the country. So we were at the forefront. We started this, and what's happened is it's created a renaissance for Indian food amongst the youth. The youth of India were moving away. We were losing touch with our own culture. In a way, and I don't know if there's a big, hairy, audacious goal or not, but in a way, Farzi has been instrumental in rekindling the love and passion for Indian food amongst the youth.
Sure. Now, when you talk about it, it seems that everything has been so easy, and now you have all these multiple restaurants and awards and so on. But let me take you back in time to late 2000, when unfortunately your father suffered a stroke.
Yeah.
And that must have been very traumatic for the family. How did you, as a really young person who was just on the verge of going to the US for your MBA, how did you deal with the situation in life?
It was probably the most traumatic week of my life. It happened when I was 22. Was I 23? Whatever. It was that age, 22 or 23. And it came as a complete surprise. My dad's health was never great. I mean, he had a bunch of bypass operations and all that stuff, but it was never that bad. And the stroke, we didn't know what a stroke was. And it happened in front of my eyes. And I'll tell you, it was mortifying. It was literally one of the most difficult things for a son to see at any age. Sure. Let alone at 22, when your entire sense of security just vanishes in 1 second. And we had to rush him to the hospital. The stroke turned out to be fairly debilitating. And that week I didn't sleep for that at least 7-10 days. Didn't sleep a wink. Too much stress, didn't know whether he was going to survive or not. Luckily, he got out of at least the life danger things settled. But then it was a matter of his whole life being on a wheelchair. That for a son is as troubling as for the patient themselves. Because obviously he's never going to be able to walk. That is the worst thing that you can ever think of. Yeah. But for the son or for the family, it's almost as bad as that. Maybe not as bad, but almost as bad. And so it was a very difficult time. But I think it was an important part of my growing up process. I was leading a sheltered life till then. And suddenly I'm thrust out in the big bad open world with no sense of security behind me. It makes a man out of you.
But so when you first started, your first venture, when you came back, launching a restaurant is not the easiest task in the world, right? And it wasn't as if your dad had a restaurant. No. Like you said, you inherited his legacy, but there was no real,
no tangible business.
No brick and mortar business for you to inherit. So tell us a little bit about, what was going through your head? How did you manage to raise the capital for starting it? And so, and what really happened after that?
So, firstly, opening the restaurant, and again, for all the young people watching, I think the restaurant business is extremely rewarding, but also extremely, extremely difficult. So, it's not something that you should get in if you want to do a 9 to 5 kind of job, or if you want to have an extension of your drawing room, or if you have a few extra, some money lying around and you want to invest that in a restaurant business. I think it is an extremely difficult but rewarding business.
But your first business venture, Zorawar, was actually didn't work out.
Yeah, it
The
did.
Parantha,
We shut it ourselves. Yeah, Parantha company.
Parantha company that you
Correct.
that you started.
Yeah.
So that must have told you, what are the things that you need to be careful about.
Totally.
Because before that, all you had is like 3-4 years of experience in the US.
Yeah.
Which is completely different from
Completely
operating a
chalk
business
and
in India.
cheese.
Yeah.
It's chalk and cheese.
So tell us about that experience of the Parantha company.
Parantha company. So Parantha company was the very first business venture I ever started, and it was basically, how these people were selling good quality food on carts. Yeah. So what I actually had was a kebab and paratha shop on a cart.
Like inspired by how you see in New York or some of the larger
like the hot dog
cities,
stands,
the hot
right?
dog stands, yeah.
So I wanted to build a kebab and paratha style of a hot dog stand, and it served only galauti kebab, veg and non-veg, and a paratha. It served only 3 dishes. There's nothing else. It did well in the beginning, and we opened a few of them, but I realized that this is not for me. The scale that I'll achieve or the size that I'll achieve is just going to take too long. And I can't put my father's name on a roadside stall. I can't do that. He's a gourmet
Yes.
guy. He needs a restaurant to put it on. And quality control is becoming an issue. So the very first venture I ever opened, I shut it within a year because it didn't resonate with me. I opened it with a certain vision. Somehow the execution of that vision in 2006 was very hard to achieve. I decided that my mind is somewhere else, so I started food courts. In fact, Punjab Grill, the brand that is now famous and in all over the world, when I founded it, it was as a food court outlet in Metropolitan Mall in Gurgaon, the first one.
Yeah.
And I just came up with this name, and I found the name very cool, and was selling typical Punjabi food in food courts. I took half the food court of this mall here. At that time, it was the hottest mall, the Metropolitan Mall. Almost half of it was with me. I felt like the big daddy in that area. And I was always the kind of guy who wanted to do multiple restaurants. I didn't want to just do one brand. I wanted to do multiple brands. And I was able to fulfill that desire through that food court. I opened 4 or 5 of them.
So you exited your first venture. This is actually massive. Is actually your second, or technically maybe your third.
Third,
right?
probably my third.
Yeah, but your third. But you exited your second venture, which had actually scaled up nicely. Was it also got to do with the fact that there was this inner restlessness that you always want to control your own destiny, because you were not, majority owner of that one, and very early on you ceded control to someone else.
Yeah.
And was that, you think, that the driving factor of that?
Wow, you've done some research on this. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. So, firstly, I had a great exit to Light Bite Foods, and Light Bite Foods founders Amit Burman and Rohit Agarwal are very close friends of mine to date. We had a very good parting, very amicable. There was a value we decided on, and we exited on that value, and till today are literally very, very close to each other. So it was a very good parting. However, the main reason for that was perhaps the fact that I was not majority. That I had founded something, but I gave away more than majority. Although, if I were to give up majority, they were the best guys to give it up to, because they were so good to work with. But that is not how I think. That's not the way it's probably a mental flaw, you could say almost, that I need to have, as an entrepreneur, certain
But it
ownership.
allows you to set the policies and the rules and make sure that the vision that you have is executed.
Be the master of your own destiny.
Master of your own destiny.
That is the key thing.
A lot of founders. India is going through this whole entrepreneurial revolution where everybody now dreams of starting their own business. So you've had a fascinating journey. So what advice do you want to give to people on this aspect? Retaining control, letting go, getting investors, managing them, being restless, so disrupting yourself.
There's no work-life balance.
If you
at
were to
all.
write a chapter on, do's and don'ts of entrepreneurship by Zorawar Kalra, how would that chapter read?
That would be a very, very long book. There'll be a lot of pages, hundreds of pages. I think in entrepreneurship, it's very important to understand that once you're an entrepreneur, your life completely changes. There is not a waking moment that you do not have somebody to take care of. And that comes with a huge sense of responsibility. It's no longer, I'll just go find a job. If you got 2,000, 3,000 people working in your company, every morning and every first of every month, it's a very big responsibility to be able to take care of their families. In a way, you're a vessel. You're a vessel through which you're taking care of not just those 2,000 people, those 2,000 people into 4. There's 8,000 people. And as you grow, the sense of responsibility increases. So it is definitely, it's like being a father, okay? Your life before being a parent and after are two different things, completely two different things. The day you see your child, everything changes. Same thing happens with your company. A company is like a child, and that child and it's a family, and the family's got so many members, and it's now no longer that it's just you failing. It's putting at risk the livelihoods of a lot of other people. So from that perspective, it's a lot of responsibility, but it's also a lot of fun, and it's very rewarding. You are your own boss. I think that's one of the key things. A lot of people that become entrepreneurs, the first thing that drives them is this, that I'm my own boss. First thing. Eventually it becomes a lot of other things. Achievement, bigger goals, like in my case, putting Indian food on the global palette, or it could be, achieving a listed company, making $1 billion organization. I think all entrepreneurs have that, and there's nothing wrong. Money in your hand is a good thing, but money should be used for good also. So it's not just keeping money for yourself. It should be having some form of philanthropic after effect, or some kind of a goal there. I mean, we talk about Bill Gates and Bill and Melinda Foundation. I mean, look what they've done. Look at what Warren Buffett has done.
Are you doing something in Massive Restaurants?
We are working with a lot of orphanages and giving food. We're starting small, but we're going to make this into a company policy now. It's going to become instituted in the way we do business, where a certain percentage of what we make is going to go towards feeding people. That's what we do. We're in the business of feeding. There's no real thing I can do apart from giving. There's nothing better I can do than to give a hungry child a good meal.
So more power to you for doing that. Zorawar, tell me, the industry itself is in some sense going through a period of deep reflection and transition, especially with all this online stuff that is happening. Almost, everybody who wants to order is on, either Zomato or Swiggy, and the landscape has completely changed over the past 5 or 7 years. So how do you have a strategy to find your place within that? And how do you feel India is going to change? Because India has always been about a family and moms cooking at home, but it seems that people are abandoning that and just ordering in.
Yeah. So I think the industry is going through a disruption. It's not just a minor ripple. This is a complete change.
A tsunami.
It's a tsunami. It's a climate change. Like how deeply seeded effects of climate change are. The effects of these disruptions are going to be at that scale for the industry. And you have to adapt. Technology will always keep coming, and you have to embrace it. In this particular case, it's the online delivery platforms and the cloud kitchens that have come and completely disrupted the business. They've disrupted two things. One is cooking at home. People have stopped cooking at home because eating out from Swiggy, ordering in from Swiggy or Zomato is cheaper.
Yes.
You don't have to spend any time. You're there. You're double income, no kids, two guys, a husband and a wife, work all day. They don't want to come home and one of them starts cooking. That's not going to work in the long run. So from that perspective, these platforms are helping somewhat. Although I don't think a home kitchen should ever be replaced. I think it should be augmented. And once in a while, ordering in from these platforms is very, very good. The disruption has happened in the dine-out space, where a lot of people, because of being tired, or just because of traffic, or just because of being lazy, which is in the nature of all humans, we're all lazy at heart. We want convenience. We're convenience junkies. Yes. And these platforms provide an alternative to eating out. That's where the disruption comes in, and we have to adapt. It's a fact that restaurant dine-out sales have been affected as a result of these platforms, because you can now get great food delivered at home. So your inclination to go out, battle the traffic, go find parking, go walk to the restaurant, wait for your food, that's an hour extra that'll take.
Perhaps you can get good food at home, but the kind of great food that you serve and the kind of experience that, I've experienced when I went to Farzi Cafe for the first time, and I said, wow, like this is another level of crazy. That you can't obviously
you cannot deliver that experience ever.
What therefore is the future of food as a work of art? Is there a future for that at all?
Of course. That's never going to change. Restaurants will never die down in 10,000 years. Restaurants will never die down. People need to socialize. You're not going to having a drink at home, alone, sitting on your couch watching TV is nowhere close to as much fun as you'll go to a bar, hang out with people, meet new people, meet with friends, beautiful music, great atmosphere. So that can never be replicated. No delivery can ever replicate it. And the good thing in India so far is you can't deliver alcohol. So at least my bars are safe from this disruption.
At least till the rules change. But do you think sometime in the future we will be able to order from Farzi Cafe? Something
you might be able
home?
to. You might be able to, but we'll have to change the menu. I won't be able to do that beautiful presentation what we're known for. I won't be able to give you those beautiful, the artistic way in which my guys present the food. Like we put a lot of microgreens and edible flowers on our food. Now, if I put it in a box and send it to you, that flower will become wilted.
Yes.
It'll lose color. It'll all get a mishmash. The food will move around. I don't find that exciting. So we're not on it at the moment. But maybe the call of the hour, and we have stakeholder interests that we have to preserve. So we might have to do that at some point in time. But we're holding steady for now.
Zorawar, when you make like a big statement like I want to bring Indian food to the world, it sounds nice, but that is what people say when they're in their 60s and when they sort of become like a father figure and so on. You're still young, restless, traveling, doing the stuff that you're supposed to do. Is that a real goal, or is that something you say because it sounds good in an interview?
No, it's absolutely a real goal. I've been saying this
how would you
the
do
very
it?
first day. So firstly, this sense of responsibility I got from my father. My father has been saying this for decades now. He's been saying the reason why he got into Indian food is because he felt bad about the way it was perceived across the world. He went to London about maybe 2 decades ago, I don't even know, maybe 3 decades ago, right? And he told me that he got very upset when a lot of the ladies said, oh, we did curry last night, and showed their fingers, they were yellow because of the haldi. And he said that when he asked people, what do you think of Indian food? He said, oh, isn't it all the same? Isn't it all based on 3 basic gravies? Isn't it all just the same thing with a whole bunch of spices thrown in? That really upset my father because he knew what the depth of sophistication and variety we have. We are the only country with this much variety. Please understand that North and South are 2 different things. The East and West are 2 different things. Every state has its own food. An entire continent does not have the food or the variety of food that one state of India has. It's not even comparable.
Sure.
And then the sophistication. Please understand, we spend 2 days marinating our food. We spend 24 hours cooking our dal. The rest of the world spends 5 minutes doing the same thing. So our cuisine is simply on another planet. It's literally not even comparable to anything else in the world. And the variety, I don't think I have to even say anything about it. The culinary philosophy was based on science. It was based on Ayurvedic principles. What should you eat at what time of the year? Who's done that? Nobody. No culture has done it. Our ancestors were really smart. Somewhere down the line, we just got too many invasions happening. We lost some of our identity. But I think the Indian diaspora, the Indian culture, through its food is a very strong thing. And the way to promote Indian culture is through its food. One of the best ways. Media and food. Yes. That's what the Americans have done. They've done a great job. Hollywood and McDonald's. I mean, the whole world is Americanized. And I want to Farzify the world by putting Indian food all over the world.
We love that. So, wish you all the luck in
Thank you.
Farzifying the world and taking Indian cuisine where it's supposed to go.
Thank you. Now you run this incredible show. Which founder have you been most inspired from amongst the ones you interviewed?
Honestly, it would be impossible to pick a founder because every story, Zorawar, is so unique. I've had founders who've come on my show who've come from backgrounds that you could never imagine that they would go out to build such amazing, successful businesses. People who've gone through the most amazing hardship in their lives, or people who have broken the mold, family traditions, and done some amazing things. I think the beauty of being a founder is that you decided to take control of your own life. And I think that's a beautiful thing by itself. Now, some may succeed more, some may succeed less, some may do something very innovative or less or whatever. It doesn't matter. I think the fact is that the day you decided to become a founder, probably one of the most important days in your life, because then you started contributing to the economy as a job creator, as an innovation creator, as an intellectual property creator, as someone who's adding to India's GDP. It's a different status that you sort of gave to yourself. So I think we've done about 30 odd founders on the show. I think each one of them is so amazingly inspiring that I believe that millions of people should watch these interviews like the one we just had of yourself. Your story is so amazing, and all the nuggets of sort of wisdom and inspiration that you're giving, I think is going to charge a whole generation of people who look up to you in any case, who see your pictures and hear about all the amazing awards that you got. But now this is going to allow them to see who's the man behind it and how is his mind working.
Great answer, perfect answer.
I think Zorawar's story is so inspirational because he's very clear about his philosophy of life and his philosophy of work. He's the person who believes about jumping off a cliff and building an airplane before he lands. He's the person who says, let's give everything I have to this venture and not care about the consequences. And if I look at the way his life has evolved, Zorawar had the fortune of having an inspirational father who had done some amazing things in his life. But at a very early age, there was, family tragedy that stuck. Father got into a stroke, couldn't be as active as he was destined or he was meant to be. And all the responsibility fell on Zorawar. And he talks about it as that was the most traumatic week of his life when he actually grew up. And so I think these sort of situations in life, either you can sort of lose yourself, or you can use these unwanted situations to grow and go to another level. And if you look at Zorawar today, he's the typical type A personality entrepreneur who's restless, who's raring to go, who wants to be out there, doesn't mind traveling 15, 20 days a week, who talks about that, look, there is really no work-life balance. So what I can really do is focus on the quality of the time that I spend with my family rather than the quantity. But I think what was most important for me was that he's not talking about money. He's not talking about all the various awards that he's won. He's talking about a goal, about a purpose of life, which is far bigger than the company that he runs, Massive Restaurants. He's talking about taking Indian food to the world, making sure Indian food gets the same respect. And if you look at the reasons why he's talking about that, it sort of goes back to how he observed his father and his father's dreams. And he almost takes it personally when he says that people outside of India think of Indian food with just 3 ingredients. I think Zorawar feels that they're talking to him and sort of saying that, Zorawar, please do something about it. And sort of, he's taken the mantle on himself to revolutionize the image of Indian food across the world. And we can only wish him more and more success in his journey as he goes along, putting Indian food at all the major capitals of the world. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.